Hi, Lisa Kennison here with MVIP Trozan Insurance. And today I am doing a recording specifically for our people who will be losing their plans for 2026. So this is about what your options are coming up. So first of all, just a little bit of information. If you're not familiar with us, we are your team. We partner with you to make your healthcare decisions. MVIP Inc. is our corporate name. I purchased Trozan Insurance in 2018. So we are continuing a legacy of caring for our seniors in this extremely volatile market. What we do truly is to partner with you in plan choices for your healthcare portfolio. We provide lots of information on Medicare changes. We hold seminars on community resources. We watch market trends and especially the legislative process. And we do that year round. What we promise is to be dedicated to you. We watch the legislative changes and how they affect you and your plans, assisting you year round with claims, helping you choose your next plan to fit your healthcare strategies, and also understanding coverage for new medications mid-year. We love to have you keep us in your back pocket. We are there year-round, doesn't mean you have to use us year-round, but in the grand scheme of it, the past 3 years has been a very volatile market, and navigating this has become even more difficult. Then add to it your shrinking budget. It's really important to try to save as much as you possibly can in any avenue. So now we're going to have a heart-to-heart talk. You have opportunities out there, so don't feel like it's the end of the world if your plan is ending. What we're running into now is that we've had some legislative changes, and they have been good, but they have side effects, just like our medications do. And the fact of the matter is, insurance is a business, and most insurance companies are for-profit businesses. So when it comes down to it, profit is going to be the number one decider on what plans stay and what plans leave. Since 2024, we have seen massive changes that have come through the pipeline. Most of those changes are in regard to our prescription drug plans, also known as Part D, D like drug. And they came about in part due to the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. So parts of it are very beneficial. The goal of that Inflation Reduction Act was to reduce the cost of prescriptions. The question then becomes for who? Well, first of all, it was the consumer. So putting a cap on what kind of medication costs that you'll have is super important. Getting rid of the donut hole, if you're familiar with that, super important. But also it reduced the cost of prescriptions for Medicare. And right now we're seeing some of those results. So this is from the Kaiser Family Foundation. It's showing you who pays Medicare Part D drug costs. Our first set of examples here is 2024, and you can see that our drug plan has changed from 4 different stages down to 2025, where we only have 3. And as we know, every plan starts with a deductible stage. Sometimes you just happen to have a 0 deductible, but they all start with that same stage. The biggest difference that I notated in this, not including the coverage gap disappearing, but it's that catastrophic coverage area. So when you have very expensive medications, very high cost, high need meds, Medicare used to pay 80% of that. So Medicare is that nice dark blue color, 80%. In 2025, what we see is Medicare only pays 20% of that cost. Now, 20% of it went to the drug manufacturers, and I don't think any of us are complaining about that. But the other 40%, that was allocated right here into the 60%, the Part D plans. So who is your Part D plan? It's your insurance company. So they had an increase of 40% of their costs between 2024 and 2025. So where do you think that trickles down to? Essentially, it's going to be the consumer. So what was good about the Inflation Reduction Act? Massive savings for consumers with high-cost medications. Best calls I ever made were people that were paying $8,000 the year before for their medications, and then in 2025 they were going to be capped at $2,000. They didn't have to pay more than $2,000. Wonderful calls. That max out of pocket for medications goes up to $2,100 in 2026. There's no more donut hole, like I said. And Medicare is finally able to negotiate and implement the pricing of 10 high-cost, high-use medications. The problem with it is because we are not implementing the pricing of those negotiated drugs until January 1 of 2026, Medicare gave itself a price break, and you guys are getting a price break as the consumer. But now it's going to trickle down on you. Well, how that is showing up in 2026 is that we have fewer plan choices. In 2025, Mutual of Omaha left the prescription drug plan arena. And in 2026, Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield is also leaving our Colorado market. We have smaller formularies. The formulary is the list of drugs that are covered on your plan. That leads to maybe some medication that you were used to having covered in years past is no longer covered. There are still minimum standards that Medicare has to abide by, but overall they're smaller in general. That list is smaller. Then there are also cuts to our extras on our medical plans. So we've been in this wonderland of more and better, and you're getting extras all over the place. And what we're seeing now is that our medical plans have had to cut some of those extras to be able to afford to pay for those prescription drugs that are out there. The other thing that's happened with our built-in Medicare Part D plans, so the ones that are part of Medicare Advantage, is that they're putting deductibles on those prescription drugs. That hasn't been as much the case in the past, on a few plans maybe, but not in general. And overall now, most of the plans have deductibles. The big picture is that the companies are running for the hills. In fact, they're not even allowing agents to sell their plans any longer. Aside from, we will have, by the end of this year, only 2 plans that agents can actually sell to you. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So we have enrollment periods. AEP, that's our current one, that's called Annual Enrollment Period, and it runs from October 15th to December 7th each year. That's a time period where you can either change your standalone prescription drug plan, or if you have Medicare Advantage, you can change your Advantage plan. Then we have another enrollment period called OEP, and that is Open Enrollment Period. That's for Medicare Advantage plan holders only, and that runs from January 1st to March 31st annually. Then we have what's called an SEP, a Special Enrollment Period. Many different versions of an SEP exist, but right now, and specifically for you guys that have an ending plan, it can give you guaranteed issue into any plan of your choice. And we'll talk about 2 types of plan choices next. So the SEP SAR, that stands for Special Enrollment Period for Service Area Reductions or Plan Exits. It's for all of you guys watching this. Your plan has ended. They've mailed you a letter saying that as of December 31st, 2025, your plan is no longer going to exist. If you do nothing, you will go back to original Medicare with nothing else. But this allows you the opportunity to make a plan change. Sometimes your exiting plan is actually available in other counties. So when you look at it, you're thinking to yourself, it's still out there, it's still available. That doesn't mean it's available where you reside. Overall, this all comes down to profits and cost. If a plan is a money loser, then that business is going to make a decision to terminate that plan. Companies are losing money, as we described in that previous slide, and we're seeing the fallout right now. They're less likely to hold on to a plan that's a money loss now, hoping that it will turn around in the future. They just don't have that luxury right now. So let's open some doors. Let's see what you can do with your special enrollment period. So option number one is to stick with an Advantage plan. Sometimes your company has one that's available, that it's just one plan that's ending. Other times the entire company is shutting down in the state and you do not have another available plan option within that company. So what to consider? And this is a really big deal because we are seeing fewer and fewer PPO options, the flexible options. And what we need to talk about here is flexibility versus cost savings. There are two types of Advantage plans to choose from in the Colorado market. One is considered an HMO, which gives you coverage in network only, unless it is an emergency or urgent situation. You typically have a primary care doctor. You're paying co-pays and deductibles. Sometimes you have a co-insurance or a percentage that you would pay for a service. And you have to reside in the service area. That doesn't mean that you're always getting your coverage and your providers in that exact service area. But you have to reside in a service area to be able to take part in it. When we talk about PPOs, they are more flexible. They allow you to see doctors both in network and out of network. In network wise, you're going to see lower copays, lower cost shares, even a lower max out of pocket or worst case scenario. Many times in a PPO, you will have a higher cost share when you are out of network. They typically also have higher out of pocket costs for you. So that max out of pocket can be substantially higher. PPOs can be a good fit for people who travel often for long periods of time or if they live in multiple states. The biggest consideration here is whether you truly need that flexibility. If you're traveling across the country and something happens, that would be considered an emergency. You're not looking for a new primary care physician when you're visiting Maine in the fall once. You are looking for emergency care, and that is something that an HMO has. So we want to just cover this briefly, and you can read through this screen on your own, but by pausing the actual recording. But currently in the market space, 54% of everybody that had Medicare Advantage available to choose in 2024 did so. So Medicare Advantage has been the most popular plan choice out there. Now we're seeing a decrease coming up in 2026. They're anticipating that fewer people are going to enroll. And that's not because they are anticipating people don't like that option. It's because there are fewer Medicare Advantage plans to choose from now. Like I said, we're getting rid of, not me personally, but the insurance companies are getting rid of PPO plans and not allowing them to be sold by agents in some cases. And the reason for it is the insurance company has less control over the costs that are coming in from providers when they have a PPO. On an HMO, they know exactly what they are going to be paying to each of those providers as part of the network. The only thing that's unknown to that HMO is what happens in an emergency. So a lot of people like the zero premium plans. A lot of people like that they get an all-in-one product. So they've got dental, vision, prescriptions, and everything with one card. And then there are also chronic condition plans that can be extremely helpful in managing that condition and also having medication for that condition. So what kind of Advantage plans do we have coming up in 2026? This is really for the Northern Colorado market space. So, and specifically Larimer County in this instance. And this is a very large overview of the companies. So when I talk about the Aetna plans right here. This is encompassing all of their plans that we have in this Northern Colorado space. It's not one particular plan that I'm highlighting. The devoted plans, same thing. So this is what I call the come to Jesus talk with this, because there are some very strange things that have happened with our plans this year. So Aetna overall, in this dark green color, this is what we're recommending. And although my head is right over the spot where it tells you the key, this darker green color is what we are recommending. And it is something that Aetna has good products in both the HMO and the PPO space. They have the most broad network of any insurance company out there, containing the most major doctors and hospital groups out there. And they also offer a traveler benefit. So technically, you could have an HMO and be a snowbird and live in 2 different states and still have doctors in network. When we're talking about RX coverage on here, it's better for generics because they do have a prescription deductible. It's not that it's a terrible plan if you have expensive meds. It's just that it tends to be a little bit better for generics originally. There are extra benefits like dental, vision, and hearing are moderate at best. They're nothing fancy. This is like a Ford F-150 truck. They do not have a Part B rebate plan. So what is a Part B rebate? So we all pay a premium for our Part B of Medicare. That minimum in 2025 has been $185, and if you have a higher income, then you might have what's called an IRMA surcharge, income-related monthly adjustment amount. And that premium for Part B does tend to inch upward every year. Sometimes it falls back, but we're expecting an increase in 2026 for it. So anything that you see a rebate for in this column, this includes prescriptions. And if you sign up for that plan, you're going to have, in this instance with Devoted, $169 a month credited back to your Part B Medicare, B like boy, Medicare premiums. So Aetna does not have one of those, but they do have a Medicare Advantage only product. This can be a veteran plan, or if you have a late enrollment penalty for not having a prescription drug plan and you still don't want a prescription drug plan, or you don't need a prescription drug plan because you do have veterans coverage for medications, then this would be the column that you want to look at. So there can be some really good options there. United Healthcare has a give back on their veteran plan that's $130 a month. So a really decent thing. Then we have this column right here that talks about chronic condition plans. So a chronic condition would be something where someone has diabetes, congestive heart failure, AFib, has had a heart attack or a pacemaker put in, Watchman put in, things like that. In this instance, people can qualify for those chronic condition plans and get assistance in keeping track of their chronic condition, managing it. Medication costs are oftentimes better on those plans than they are on our regular Medicare Advantage plans. Then our final column here is our star rating. You can see that all of the companies, we've got 3.5 to 4.5 stars. We do not have any 5-star plans in Colorado. And part of that is that Medicare re-rated their star rating system 2 years ago. And so they knocked people out of the 5-star area that had normally been in that in the past. And all I can say is with Medicare giving itself a cost cut on the prescription drug plans, I have a feeling that that re-rating of the star ratings was also in an effort to pay the plans less. Because when plans have a higher star rating, they get more money from the federal government to provide the plans. So just more cost-saving mechanism for Medicare in there. So as a quick run through on why we recommend certain companies and not others, We're looking at strong, robust doctor networks. We're looking at what the max out of pocket is. So for an HMO product on a plan we're recommending, Aetna has the lowest max out of pocket on that. For PPOs, Aetna has a really good PPO, but Humana has one that has a lower max out of pocket. Now, some of these plans you're seeing really high max out of pockets. When we talk about these give back plans, that's where we're going to see those high max out of pockets. So think of it this way. If you're getting something back, you're probably going to be paying for it in another area. If you're not receiving a lot of medical care, a give back plan can be a really nice option. If you're going to the doctor and hospital frequently, a give back plan is not a particularly good option for you. Then as we're going through here, we've got Kaiser as a light green. Kaiser is an excellent company. They are a nonprofit, but unless you are wanting to switch doctors or go into the Kaiser system specifically, it might not be a good fit for you. Additionally, when we're looking in this PPO column, Kaiser is no longer offering their PPO through agents. Select has never had a PPO offering up here in Northern Colorado. And United Healthcare is saying we do not want to sell PPOs in 2026. Kind of a shocker. It's like having a shoe store and being told not to sell winter boots in the winter. But that is what they stated. This is what they've told their sales agents, which is us. So we are honoring that and saying, okay, we will not sell PPOs during the year. So that is not available from United Healthcare. And Select Health, we're going to pop back over here, go through our companies. Select Health is actually an awesome company. They do not have a national network, so that can be a downside for some people, unless you're just traveling for fun and would only need emergency care when you're out and about. Overall, they have very solid products. They tend to have excellent prescription coverage with 0 deductibles. Their extra benefits are excellent on some of their plans, and on other plans they're not. So they do have a couple of plans that have really excellent additional benefits. But the reason why this is not bolded here is because they're not excellent on all their plans. And then United Healthcare does have one HMO available for clients to enroll in. This is a $49 per month HMO, and it's really kind of mediocre at best, except for that $3,500 max out of pocket. Prescriptions are better for generics. They have that prescription deductible. Their extra benefits are pretty understated. They're not great. And unless you pay additional dollars for it, it's just not the best out there. Their plans that they are wanting to actively sell and put people in would be the chronic condition plan. They have a great chronic condition plan. And they also have that veteran give back plan. So we'll loop back up to here just to recap. Aetna, Humana, and Select are the companies that we are recommending this year. This is a very broad overview of all the different plans that are out there. So take it with a grain of salt because your individual needs could make this look very different. Now, Devoted, sadly, UC Health has made a business decision to not take Devoted insurance, nor will they bill Devoted if you are there seeing a provider or there in the hospital. So honestly, we are not recommending it for new people. They do have an excellent alternative benefit that no other company offers, and that's for alternative care or naturopathic doctors. So it is on one of their plans. It's not the give back plan, so you're not going to get $169 a month and this alternative doctor benefit. It's on their regular PPO, but they offer $3,000 that you can use towards dental, vision, or alternative medicine care. not your supplements, but your actual visit with the doctors. Like I said, they do have that Part B rebate plan, which is phenomenal. And then finally, I'm going to wrap this up with a highlight of Kaiser plans. So we often hear from people that, they don't want to switch doctors, but there comes a time when we have maybe substantially older people that are looking for an all in-house care. And that's what Kaiser really is. So Kaiser is super strong about offering supplemental packages that would include transportation to and from the doctor's office, some in-home care. Also, we've got that ability to see your doctor in one building, get your x-rays in that same building, fill your prescriptions in that same building. So that can be a really nice thing for our substantially older people or people who just don't want to be running all over town to get things done. One note on that too, if you're looking specifically for that in-home care, Select Health does offer that care on some of their plans. Now you will see here that Cigna is not recommended. Cigna actually no longer exists. There is a HealthSpring plan out there. HealthSpring is now the owner of Cigna, but they completely eliminated all the Cigna plans and introduced one single plan coming up in 2026. And frankly, we just don't know enough about it. It's just too new. It's not a comfortable zone for us. And then Anthem is missing as well. Anthem has one HMO product available out there, but the max out of pocket is over $9,000. So what that means is Anthem does not want to sell that product. So transparent, straightforward, this is what's happening in the market right now. So your second option as somebody that has the SEP for your plan leaving the market is that you can go guaranteed issue or GI into a Medicare supplement plan. And this opens the door to something that you haven't had since you first signed up for Medicare. So you can go back to original Medicare and you can add on a supplement. Now, depending on when you got into Medicare, it determines when or which supplement you can actually get. So if you were Medicare eligible prior to January 1st of 2020, then you can do a guaranteed issue into a Plan F like Frank. If you were effective on Medicare after January 1st of 2020, then you can have a Plan G like girl. As we go through this, then you will also need a prescription drug plan. Now that marketplace has substantially reduced, as I talked about in some of the first slides. So essentially, you are going to be looking at Medicare supplement plans that are in these price ranges. So again, this is the 80525 zip code, Plan G rates. I didn't run Plan F. Plan F, like Frank, will be a higher cost. So we'll talk about that. We will actually run these quotes for you individually if you want. But the reason I put this chart up is because last year we had over 360 people need to change their plans because their plan exited. And when we did that, we ran supplement quotes for every single person. And only 3 people wanted to enroll in a supplement. So this year I decided I'm going to be straightforward and show you the pricing right off the bat, knowing that Plan F is higher cost than these Plan G rates. So this is something that you can kind of take an eyeball and look at it and say, female, non-tobacco, age 76, I'm going to be paying somewhere between $168 and $307 a month. Does that sound good to me? Now the medical coverage is better, so you're going to be less out of pocket. But what we find is when you package the entire thing together at the end, you end up paying more on a monthly basis. Unless you hit your max out of pocket every year on your Medicare Advantage plan, you may or may not want to go this route. If you want the specific quotes for your age in your zip code, just let us know. We're happy to do it. Then we're going to talk about our prescription plans that are available in 2026. This is where our market has totally shifted. So we only have a handful of plans that are available for or through our agency, and Humana is only allowing us to write them through November 8th. Cigna will be out there all the way through the annual enrollment period. Otherwise, you must go to Medicare.gov or call Medicare to enroll in one of the other plans. Totally different world. We've never had to deal with this before. So average really in our state is about $70 per month. Now, if you're a low use of medicines, then you can count on between $0 and $50 a month. If you are a person who uses a lot of very expensive medications, then you might be more near the $100 a month mark. So in addition to that Medicare supplement premium, add that Part D premium on there as well. Then if you're needing dental insurance, I've got two sections here. We've got dental plan high needs. So if you regularly have root canals or crowns or constantly in for some kind of major service, then you're going to be right around that $45 to $94 range. And on average, we typically sell a plan that's about $50 a month. Then for low needs plans, there are some out there as low as $22 and some that go up to $47. The caution on those low needs plans is they don't cover very much for major services, if any. It depends on the plan. Then to add a vision plan on, you're looking at anywhere between $8 and $16 a month. So you can see how those premiums really can add up on this. Overall, we so appreciate our clients. We so appreciate you taking a look at this video. And this is something that you can come back to and watch. You can fast forward to certain parts of it. But once you've had an opportunity to watch this video, once we have your retire flow survey or your scope of appointment in, your medications, your doctors, then that's when we can really start making some recommendations for you for a new plan. We hope that this answers some of the questions that you have out there. This is one of the wildest years yet in the Medicare marketplace. Appreciate you all. Thanks for listening.